Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2021 Toyota Highlander, we're going to be checking out the Swagman XC2 platform style bike rack. So my first impression of the rack on the back of the Highlander, I think it looks pretty good, and it's going to be a great way to carry around a couple of bikes. One of the really nice things with this setup is its simplicity. Not a whole lot to it, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to get the job done. This rack does an awesome job of securing your bikes and just the functionality of it. Like I said, it's easy to use. One of the benefits of its simplicity is the fact that it's lightweight. All right, it don't take up a bunch of space. It's easy to handle. So if you're someone that pulls the rack out quite often, maybe say you only use it a handful of times a year, it's gonna be a great solution for you. But other than that, let's go ahead and kind of check the rack out. So we're gonna have 3 points of contact. Up here, we're gonna have a frame hook that puts pressure down on your frame, which in turn puts pressure down on the wheels into the openings here, the cradles here. And believe it or not, everything's pretty sturdy. There's some movement in the rack itself, but the bike is moving with it. So everything is solid. With that said, something to keep in mind, if you have a carbon frame bike, probably want to look at another option, one that holds it down by the wheels. In all honesty, it's not good to have a carbon frame bike and have a frame hook here putting a bunch of pressure on it. In order to get the bike off, what you're going to have to do is push down on this lever here, and that's going to lift up the frame hook. Now when you're doing that, definitely want to have the bike supported, because once you undo this, you're going to lose that pressure and the bike could fall and hit your car. With that said, you can lift this up and then we can kind of just work the bike off the rack. I figured we'd grab a measurement just to help figure out how much room this is going to take up on the back of your Highlander. So when you have the rack in this position, if we go from we'll go from the license plate. It looks like this hook's actually going to be the furthest point out. From the plate to the very edge, it looks like it's going to be about 25 inches. So, something just to keep in the back of your head when you're pulling into a small garage or a tight parking spot. Keep in mind though, if you do have a bike actually on this part of the rack, the handlebars may come out a little bit further. That's just going to vary though, depending on if you have a bike back here or not. One of the big questions that we do get asked is if you're still going to be able to have access to the back of your Highlander whenever you have the rack on it. And the answer is yes. You are going to have the rack laid out like so, but the center portion does fold down. So you can pull that pin and you can actually swing it to either side, whichever you prefer really. If you're going to drive around with it like this, definitely want to make sure to lock that pin back in. And with it like this, you're going to be able to open up the hatch and get whatever you might need in and out of the back of your Toyota. So the rack does fold up on itself and frees up a little bit of space as far as the overall width of it. And to do that, you're going to have a couple of pins here. You can pull that pin out, swing the arm up, and work that pin back in. Same deal for this one here. Now it makes it pretty compact. You can drive around town with it like this. Or, my thought was if you need to take this out of the hitch and, maybe it's winter time, you keep it in storage, you see how small it is. Don't really take up any space. Or on the same note, maybe you need to, tow a trailer or use a cargo carrier. With this being so small and lightweight, you can pull it out of the hitch, put it in the back of your Highlander for the time being to use that other accessory. So moving on down here, the rack is going to work with those 2" by 2" receiver tube openings like we have here today on our Toyota, but it can work with the smaller 1¼ by 1¼ openings. So if you happen to have another vehicle in the household, chances are pretty good this is going to work with it as well. It is going to have a raised shank, so that's always nice, gets the bike rack a little bit higher up off the ground. And it's also going to come included with an anti-rattle bolt. And what that's going to do is eliminate any slop or play here in the connection point and provide us with a nice and quiet ride. You're not going to hear the rack kind of bouncing around on the hitch. So give you an example of that. Let's say if we're going down the road, hitting some bumps, you can see that the rack is going to move with our Highlander and not on its own. So when it comes down to it, a great entry-level bike rack that you really can't go wrong with. You know, these are very popular. A lot of people use them, and I can see why. You know, just super easy, lightweight, and easy to put on and operate, you know. And not to mention, I think it looks pretty good on the back of the Highlander. If you're anything like me, you always want to see the product you're interested in actually working or in action. So let's go ahead, load up a couple of bikes, take it out on the test course, and see how it does. This is our test course. Let's start with the slalom. This shows side-to-side action, such as turning corners or evasive maneuvering. Then, onto our alternating speed bumps. This shows twisting action, such as hitting curbs, potholes, road debris, or even uneven pavement. Last of all, the solid speed bumps. This shows up and down action, such as driving through a parking lot or parking garage, or driving in and out of a driveway. And that'll finish up our look at of the Swagman XC2 platform style bike rack on our 2021 Toyota Highlander.